The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Miranda.
Here.
Maniscalco. Here. Hurtek. Here. Vieira. Carlson.
Here.
Clendenin.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
As you probably noticed, we have one councilperson missing. Louis Vieira as previously arranged absence for the evening. So this is what you get tonight. Councilwoman Hurtek.
Oh, I was just getting ready to.
You were getting
like-
ready. You were locked and loaded. Okay, very good. So we have some housekeeping to do. Number 8 and number 9 have been misnoticed. Can I get a motion to remove those from the agenda?
Except, nope, there's,
Oh, go ahead.
Do you want?
Take it away.
how,
You want to do the walk-on first? Okay, let's do the walk-on first.
before getting rid of these? Okay.
That's not on my thing, but we'll go with you. Go ahead.
That I am working on. You should have physical copies of it in front of you, and it was also added as an addendum to tonight's agenda. This would simply set for discussion the to comply with Florida law 163.31801 Florida statutes in order to facilitate a possible increase the multimodal impact fee. It would set the items for discussion on the city's regular workshop agendas on September 25th, 2025 and October 30th, 2025. So that is what this resolution would do, and I'm here if you have any questions.
Councilwoman Hurtek.
Given that we have a very full agenda on September workshop, it would be great. I would like a briefing before, and maybe if we could each get individual briefings ahead of time, so we are
Sure.
prepared. That way it will save us a little bit of time. I would
Super.
appreciate that.
I'll schedule those.
So can I get a motion to set these two workshops? Oh, Attorney Shelby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. These are going to be, these are obviously publicly noticed per the statute requirements, and I understand it's also going to be advertised outside. And because of that, it is set for a time, I suspect 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock or as soon as possible after that.
My suggestion would be, because of its importance, its weight, and the way it's been advertised, that we set these for first on the agenda for both workshops, please.
Okay. So I move the resolution to set these multimodal transportation impact fee workshops on September 25th, 2025 and October 30th, 2025 at 9 a.m. or as soon thereafter as practicable in City Council Chambers, 3rd floor, City Hall, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Look at you with that address.
It's only because it's written.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtek, a second from Councilman Miranda. Mr. Shelby, yes?
And is it council's pleasure then to have this placed as first on the
That's
agenda
what
for
I
both
read.
days? Okay.
That
Well,
literally
you also
said 9 a.m. or first thereafter.
Well, nobody's
first
getting here.
there-
Nobody's
first there. I thought you
nobody's
said as soon as, that's why I
nobody's
was-
getting here before 9 a.m.
Okay,
Mr.
that's
Shelby.
fine. I just want to be clear. Thank
Okay,
you.
we have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtek, a second from Councilwoman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And do you want to go through and do the cleanup, or is it just good enough to do the two
It's-
items of removing it?
I thought one of them had to be removed because it's their second misnotice.
Go ahead with the cleanup.
Thank you, Christopher DeMonge, Development Coordination. Yes, item 8 is a misnotice. It is also the second misnotice for this particular REZ 2560, so it is being withdrawn. I do have the language if we wanted to read it in related to the withdrawal.
It would like, we can't see it, so.
Okay.
Wait, no, leave
Oh,
it
no,
there.
leave
Just
it.
leave it
We
there.
just
It
need
should
to
come
wait
up.
for-
Yeah, it'll come up. There we go.
Okay.
Okay, can I get a motion, please?
Motion to,
It's on the languages up here.
Deem it
Oh, we don't
withdrawn.
have to read that
Oh, I
whole
thought
thing, do we?
you said you had to read that. Okay. Just-
Motion to withdraw REZ 25-60.
second.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtek, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And for 9, we just need to,
Remove item number 9.
we have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from,
REZ 25-90.
right, second from Councilwoman Hurtek. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it unanimously. Thank you. Anything else?
Just that item 9, REZ 2595, that was the other misnotice.
That was what we just removed.
We just did that, correct?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
That was
very
it.
good. Thank you. Okay, a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll move.
We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. I'd like a motion to open all public hearings, please. We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, if you are here this evening to provide testimony on any case that's going to be before us tonight, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in by our clerk. Thank you very much. We are going to move forward. It's going to be a nice, quick, easy night. Item number, because I'm predicting it. Number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 1 is REZ 2510. This is a request to rezone 4202 North Seminole Avenue from Seminole Heights Residential Single Family, SHRS, to Planned Development, SHPD. This will start with an aerial of the subject site. The lot and the subject site that is part of this application is outlined in red. It has frontage along North Seminole Heights Avenue and East Genesee Street. Through this plan development and rezoning application, the applicant proposes 2 single-family detached units. The subject site to the north, south, east, and west is surrounded by single-family detached units. All of them are zoned SHRS. We do have a site plan as well. The site plan shows both the existing and the, oops, turn it a little bit.
No.
They actually physically move the paper.
Yep, that's fine.
Thanks.
There we go. I'll come in a little bit here. The site plan shows both the existing and the proposed 2-story residence. The existing residence has front door orientation towards North Seminole Avenue. There's also a driveway providing vehicular access to the same road. The proposed 2-story residence has front doors oriented towards East Genesee Street. There is a attached carport. I will note regarding the carport that the revised revision sheet that I will get to you all shortly has that carport being moved back 18 feet from the front building facade. Additionally, parking is provided along the north driveway aisle. Ingress egress is provided by way of the 10-foot alleyway. The applicant is preserving the 55-inch grand oak. There is a 24-foot setback along the western portion of the site that helps preserve that tree. Additionally, there is flexi pave that will be installed within the protective radius of that tree, within a section of that 10-foot alleyway. Each of the units would be located on its separate lot, totaling 4,455 square feet. And we also have elevations showing, let's see, elevations of that proposed single-family detached unit. The height proposed is 28 feet 5 inches. And of course, they show all the different directions of how that particular unit would look. All right, next we have photos. This is the subject site, the existing home on North Seminole Avenue. This is the same home. This is the view from East Genesee Street. One additional view showing the western portion of the site as well as the grand oak that would be preserved. This is the view from East Genesee Street. We have the alleyway that would be used for ingress egress for the proposed unit, and it also shows you that grand tree that would be preserved. North of the subject site, south of the subject site, east of the subject site, and west of the subject site on North Branch. We have the view looking north on North Seminole Avenue, south on Seminole Avenue, east on East Genesee, and looking west on East Genesee. I do have the revision sheet that I'd like to include there. There are 2 waivers requested. One of those waivers does need to be corrected on the record this evening. It pertains to the second waiver noted on the cover sheet of the staff report. This is the request to reduce parcel B front build 2 line from 20 feet to 10 feet. This is being corrected to reflect a reduction from 20 feet to 18 feet. And of course, we wanted to get that out there, and that way it's noted along with the carport item that I also have mentioned in this presentation. Development review and compliance staff, we've reviewed this petition. We found the request consistent with the applicable City of Tampa land development regulations. If council approves the application, the modifications to the site plan on the submitted revision sheet must be completed between first and second readings, and I'll be available for any questions.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you, and I'm assuming that change from 10 to 18 is because you don't have to count the frontage for a porch in Seminole Heights due to the overlay code.
It relates to, you're referring to the one requiring a 20-foot setback? Is that the
Yeah,
waiver?
the 20
that waiver?
to 18. And
That one, it's actually being.
I'm sorry, from 10 to 18.
Oh, correct. It's actually being triggered because the home to the east faces North Seminole, and the home to the west is on North Branch Street. So there wasn't another home that they could use to have an average for that build-to.
Okay.
So it actually reverts to a 20-foot build-to
Correct.
line, and then, of course, with this, they can't quite meet that 20-foot setback, so they're asking for that reduction by 2 feet.
So that 18 goes to the actual structure?
It actually goes to the building front
Okay.
facade.
Yeah, that's what I
We do have a
thought.
10-foot setback noted here for the covered porch.
Okay.
That revised revision sheet you does note that they need to note a additional setback noting that 18-foot distance there.
Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate you fixing the carport too, because that was also not up to code.
Councilman Miranda, did you want to say? Okay. Very good. Planning Commission staff.
Thank you. Jennifer Malone with your Planning Commission staff. This is in the Central Tampa Planning District in the Seminole Heights Urban Village. This is consistent with the comprehensive plan. We found no adverse impacts to the surrounding neighborhood, and this would allow consideration of 2 single-family detached zoning lots at a density of 10 dwelling units per acre, which is consistent with that underlying future land use. We also found that it was promoting the intent of the overlay, and we have policies that relate to that as well. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? We have an applicant. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is David Wright of TSP Companies. Address is 20085 Sable Palm Court. I'm not going to regurgitate any of the information that was just given to you by staff. We're in agreement with both staff reports and the finding of consistent, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Does council have any questions? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this item? We have a motion to close from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Can I, Councilman Carlson, would you like to read it? There is a revision sheet and the change, a revised revision sheet with the changes for parcel B.
Move item number 1, REZ, file number REZ 25-10, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 4202 North Seminole Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification SHRS Seminole Heights residential single family to SH-PD Seminole Heights plan development residential single family detached, providing effective date including the revised revision sheet.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson. We have a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously.
Second hearing and adoption will be held on October 9th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Did you read the vote? I mean, I did, so especially for me, I did. I said unanimously. So. Okay. So for those of you that just walked in, are you planning on testifying this evening? Okay, let's go ahead and knock this out. I see the new people have shown up, so we don't have to keep track of it. If you're planning on speaking this evening, stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in by our clerk. Thank you. And gentlemen, the applicant from the previous care, you're all set unless you have any questions. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, very good. Okay, we're on item 2. Thank you. Go ahead.
All set. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 2 is REZ 2557. This is a request to rezone 5101 North 34th Street and 3404 East Wilder Avenue from residential single-family RS50 to commercial neighborhood CN. The subject site is outlined in red. It is located in the northeast corner of the intersection of North 34th Street and East Wilder Avenue. The subject site is improved with a 1-story building. The lot totals 10,918 square feet. It's also located in the East Tampa Overlay District and must comply with the development design standards for this overlay district at the time of permitting. The surrounding development pattern consists of single-family detached units to the north and to the west. South of the subject site, we have the Fair Oaks Community Center, and east of the subject site is a place of religious assembly. Next, we have a survey. Survey outlined in green shows the subject site having 106 feet of street frontage along North 34th Street and 102 feet of frontage along East Wilder Avenue. Given the surrounding uses, the requested use of commercial neighborhood is appropriate in location, and it provides for an appropriate transition within the surrounding parcels. Since this is a Euclidean rezoning, we do not have a site plan or elevations to provide, but I do have some photos showing the subject site and surrounding areas. This is the view of the subject property from North 34th. This is looking east. This is at the intersection looking northeast at the subject site. This is looking south to north on East Wilder. These are the detached units I mentioned north of the subject site. South of the subject site, we have the Fair Oaks Park Community Center. East is the is the church, and west of the subject site, we have another detached unit. And one additional photo is just looking southwest from the subject site. As you can see, there's single-family detached units nearby to the subject site. Let's see. And our finding here, Development Coordination Compliance staff has reviewed this application. We find the request consistent with the City of Tampa land development regulations, and I'm available for any questions.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
Thank you. If you could put that initial picture of the, no, the next one.
Oh, this one?
Yes.
Here we go.
So this shows parking to the street, on the street side, and the first image you showed parking that was right up next to the building. Which is it?
Looking at the photo, it would be right up against the building.
Yes, and so I
survey.
guess what I'm saying is, are they going to have to abide by this new image that has the parking?
No, it's not a PD.
So it's not a PD.
Right.
So, okay,
It's
just
eu-
curious.
It's Euclidean.
Yeah, no, I was just hoping.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Any further questions? Hearing none, Planning Commission staff?
Jennifer Malone with your Planning Commission. This is residential 10. As you may know, there is a limited neighborhood serving commercial uses can be considered in the residential 10 if it meets commercial locational criteria. The surrounding area is residential 10 with the exception of the park to the south. That's the Fair Oaks Park. Staff reviewed this carefully and found that while it does not meet locational criteria as written, because 50% of the block face is not zoned commercial, this has been operating as a commercial use and the building has been there since 1946. We found that since it is also interfacing North 35th Street, which is the border of the Legacy Oaks neighborhood and also a collector roadway, it could be considered at the edge of a roadway. Due to the history of the site, the current status, along with the location causing little encroachment into residential portions of these neighborhoods, staff finds that neighborhood serving commercial uses are appropriate at this location in this land use category. So I just wanted to explain that for the record. It does not meet it again, but I do think it's appropriate here and found it consistent with the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Okay, we have an applicant. Is there an applicant?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. No.
Were you sworn in?
Good evening, everyone.
Sir, hold on 1 second. Were you sworn in? Did you raise your right hand and get
Yes,
sworn
sir,
in?
sure.
Okay, could you swear him in, please? Good catch.
All the truth. Amen.
Okay, go ahead.
I try to see some pictures for you. 5101, I'm Joseph, sorry. Good evening, everyone.
Okay, so you have to say your last name as well. First and last name, please.
Joseph Riss.
Okay.
5101, this is the current building, built in 1949. No, 1946, after the war. I mean, that building used to be, when we look at, they say this is a trip, man. And the zoning, they put him for Air 50. This is a commercial building. Now, anything you try, I bought that building 2 years ago, anything we try do for renovation, roofing, stucco it, we can get the permit because it's in the wrong zoning. Now, we try tonight, we come in here, we try see if we can put him in the correct zoning. The correct zoning, when you look at the pictures, is what for you? Everybody's like, great. This is CN neighborhood. I mean, now we try to put them together. Same before someone asked for the parking, we get used a lot behind for put more parking, for making a little bit more better for the corridor, 34 corridor. This is what we come in to do it, because we got stuff to do renovation in there, but we can't not get permit because the building built in 1946 is in the wrong zoning. We try to put the zoning B and a CN commercial for we can operate the building correctly.
We understand.
This is where we come. We see the building, we see it. This is like a 4-5 building. Is we know 34 corridor, the city by the fact just next door, just build a 2-story building for the neighborhood. That means this building can be a plus for the neighborhood. Man, we're not in the correct zone. We're in the Air 50 from 1942. Today we're in 2020. We must put this in the correct zoning up where we can move forward up where the building.
We understand that part.
Thank you.
Yes. Anything else to add?
No, after that, everything's all right.
Does council, we think so too. Does council have any questions? Okay, very good. Okay, if you have nothing else to add, is there a motion to, is there anybody in the public who wishes to speak to this item? Hearing none, can we get a motion to close? We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Councilwoman Hurtak.
File number REZ 25-57, an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 5101 North 34th Street and 3404 East Wilder Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family to CN commercial neighborhood, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Second hearing and adoption.
Hold on one sec. Hold on one second. Listen for the date. She's going to tell you the date of the next hearing. Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Viera being absent. Second hearing and adoption will be held on October 9th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. Did you copy that?
October 9th, 10 a.m.
Yeah, things have to be heard 2 times, so that'll be the second time you'll have another, there'll be another one. Okay, very good. Thank you so
I would
much.
like to stay with you, man. I got parking for 1 hour.
Very good. We're trying to get you out of here, save you some money. There you go. Very good. Thank you. Item number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 3 is REZ 2559. This is a request to rezone 6600, 6602, 6604, 6606, 6610, 6612, 6614, 6616, and 6618 South Sterling Avenue, and 6713, 6715, and 6717 South Himes Avenue from planned development to planned development to allow for single-family detached uses. I'll start with an aerial of the subject site. It is outlined in red. The subject site is located south of West Everett Avenue. It is north of West Buren Drive. It is located east of South Sterling Avenue and also located west of South Himes Avenue. Surrounding uses include planned development zoning to the north for single-family attached and semi-detached uses. To the east and south, we have RS60 zoning, and the parcels there are developed with single-family detached uses. And west of the subject site, we have a vacant parcel zone, commercial intensive, and a parcel would improve with a warehouse zoned industrial general. The current PD zoning for this site is approved for 10 residential detached units. The applicant, through the requested PD rezoning, proposes the same number of dwelling units. The only change is from the current PD is the proposed setbacks. We do have the site plan we can go over here. Looking at the proposed site plan, parcels A through H are proposed east of South Sterling Avenue, which would be constructed through this application. Both the front doors as well as the vehicular access through the driveways are all oriented towards South Sterling Avenue. Parcel K, which is located on the south end of the subject site, would have lot frontage on both South Sterling Avenue and South Himes Avenue, and it has a stormwater pond proposed, and parcels I through J would have detached units with front doors oriented towards South Himes Avenue along with their proposed driveways. The site totals 2.2 acres. It is vacant. One additional thing to note is that there are 5-foot sidewalks proposed along portions of each of the mentioned right-of-ways. We also have elevations. There are 2 sets of elevations that I can show. Each set shows an example of a single-family detached unit with a max height of 35 feet. These are the first set of elevations and the second set of elevations. I can zoom in a little closer if need be.
I think we're good.
There we go.
If I can see it, I know everybody else can.
All right.
My eyes.
Very good. Next, we have, after that, let me jump in here. We have 2 waivers, which are also requested with this application. They were actually approved with the prior PD, so they're just more or less carryovers. Looking at photos of the site. This is a photo of the subject site looking south from West Everett. This is a photo internally of the site. You can kind of see right here where South Sterling Avenue would likely be constructed. This is looking east, or looking west actually, from South Himes Avenue. north of the subject site. This is an example. These are the semi-detached units, or I'm sorry, these are actually the attached units that are north of the subject site. South of the subject site along West Buren. This is an example of the detached units which you find on the east side of South Himes Avenue. And looking west, you've got largely trees and swamp. All right, Development Review and Compliance staff has reviewed the application. We find the request consistent with the applicable City of Tampa land development regulations. Should it be the pleasure of City Council to approve the application, further modifications to the site plan must be completed by the applicant between first and second reading of the ordinance as stated on the revision sheet, and I'm available for any questions.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
I just want to make sure I understood correctly. Basically, the only reason we're here, we already approved this because I remember this one. All we're doing is changing the setbacks.
Correct, and I actually
Okay,
have
so it's like a large Scrivener's error.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually have a comparison here between the current request and the previously approved request of the setbacks, so.
Thank you very much. Planning Commission staff.
Jennifer Malone with your Planning Commission. This will be extremely brief. Since this was relatively recent and it was just a change of the setbacks, but just for the record, this is residential 10. We have light industrial nearby as well as some recreational open space. One thing I want to point out with the site is that it is within the McAdill Air Force Base flight path. That is a designation on the future land use map that just limits any development within that flight path to 10 dwelling units an acre. And so here it is outlined in red. This is the clear zone and then the flight path. Now, the site is residential 10, so it's not affected. This doesn't really affect the site, but I just need to mention it for the record that it is within that designation. And we found it consistent again. This is just going to be developed out at about 4.5 dwelling units per acre, which is below the density of residential 10. And it follows all of the comprehensive plan policies and no concerns with it. So thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Applicant? Good evening.
Good evening, Council. Kami Corbett with the law firm of Hill, Ward, and Henderson representing the applicant. I think a giant Scrivener's error is a good way to explain this. Our engineer of record decided he was going to apply eclectic setbacks to all of these different lots, and we went to develop and realized we really were seeking RS-50 setbacks. There are only 2 lots that don't meet those standards. They actually exceed those standards because we're protecting trees. There is another Scrivener's error, true Scrivener's error, on the request for the waivers. The waiver for the trees was 29 and 53. Sorry, Chris, I didn't have a chance to talk to you before. I just realized this as we were coming over. The waiver is for 29 and 53. It's the same trees, but they've been relabeled as 52 and 64. So I would just like to confirm with Aaron Mayer between first and second reading that we have the correct trees labeled for the waivers, because the trees 29 and 53 don't actually require waivers under the arborist report that's up record. So we just want to correct that between first and second reading. But otherwise, we're here to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Council have any questions? Is there anybody in the public who wishes to speak to this item? We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilman Maniscalco with the first and second reading changes.
Thank you. I have an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 6600, 6602, 6604, 6606, 6610, 6612, 6614, 6616, and 6618 South Sterling Avenue, and 6713, 6715, 6717 South Himes Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 1 from Zoning District Classification PD Plan Development to PD Plan Development Residential Single Family Detached, providing an effective date, and the changes as mentioned by the representative between now and second reading.
Thank you. We have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. I know Councilman Miranda was jealous because he used to like to read all those numbers. He likes those motions with all the numbers. Yeah, there you go. Okay, here we go. Go
Motion
ahead.
carried unanimously with Viera being absent. Second hearing and adoption will be held on October 9th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. Item number 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Christopher Demonch, Development Coordination. Agenda item number 4 is REZ 2570. This is a request to rezone 703 East Floribraska Avenue from residential multifamily RM24 to commercial neighborhood CN. The subject site, as shown on the aerial, is outlined in red. It's located on the south side of East Floribraska Avenue. It also has street frontage where East Floribraska Avenue intersects with North Talafiero Avenue. The surrounding, or I should say the subject site has approximately 7,098 square feet in area. The surrounding uses include CG zoning to the north, consisting of single-family detached units, along with RS50 zoning to the south, which has single-family detached units. We have a vacant parcel immediately adjacent to the subject site to the east, zone RM20, and west of the subject site, we have I-275, and RS50 zoning continues westerly. And the applicant, of course, is requesting to allow the site to be developed with commercial neighborhood uses. This is a survey of the subject site outlined in green. The subject site has approximately 60 feet of street frontage along East Floribraska Avenue and 118 feet of frontage along North Talafiero Avenue. Given the surrounding uses, the requested use of commercial neighborhood zoning is appropriate in location, and it also provides an appropriate transition with surrounding parcels. Since this is a Euclidean rezoning, we do not have a site plan to provide or elevations to show as well, but I do have some photos of the subject site. This is looking south. This is on Floribraska Avenue, looking at the subject site. This is looking east. This is from North Talafiero Avenue. Looking north, south of the subject site. This is the view of the lot to the immediate east. And of course, looking west, you have the interstate there. All right. And Development Coordination and Compliance staff has reviewed this application. We find the request to be consistent with the City of Tampa Land Development Regulations, and I'm available for any questions.
Does council have any questions? Hearing none, Planning Commission.
Jennifer Malone, Planning Commission staff. The subject site is within the East Tampa Urban Village. It is designated Community Mixed Use 35. That is the pink color on the map. To the south of the subject site is residential 20, and then to the west of the subject site is residential 10, but it also borders Interstate 275. Planning Commission staff found this consistent with the comprehensive plan. Commercial neighborhood zoning is a very neighborhood-friendly, neighborhood-serving commercial uses, and the Community Mixed Use 35 designation can actually consider much greater mixed-use development. So there were no concerns with this. This will be compatible with the surrounding development pattern. The only thing I need to mention for the record is that it is in a mixed-use center and corridor and an urban village. We just made a note in our staff report that we would hope that those policies are addressed at the time of permitting related to walkability, front door orientation, etc. But that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I thought you were going to teach us how to say a street name.
Oh,
Taliaferro.
Good evening, City Council, Eileen Rosario. My client, basically, she just purchased this lot, and she wants to be able to put a little community store there. There's no really good stores in the neighborhood, and she wants to be able to put a t-shirt shop, she's thinking. And she wants to develop that, and next door is her other piece of land that she bought, and she wants to put a house there. So she wants to keep everything within the community. She's been living in the neighborhood for over 35 years. She lives directly across the street. She's been maintaining it for years from the property owner previously. So she just wants to be able to open up her own business.
Thank you. Does council have any questions? Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this item? Come forward, please. Start with your name.
How you doing today?
Just verifying you were sworn in.
Pardon?
You were sworn in?
Yes, sir. Yeah, my name is Kevin Welch. I just built a new house. I'll just go right into it. Matter of fact, just almost across the street on 709 East Hugh. Brand new house, domain house. And I built that house under the concept that it's going to improve. I can see vision because I've had other houses and I can see development, but it's got to be the right kind of development. Okay, basically that whole strip is blighted. And hopefully with the right development, this area will bloom. As I see it, that is not something that will be an asset to our neighborhood. It's residential along there. Only other place that I can think that had some commercial was King State, that has since went out of business and is boarded up and fence around it. So there's plenty of space on Nebraska for any commercial development, and I applaud that. But right there, they were all residential, and I think they should stay that way. Just because you put in a new development means that it's a good development, and I don't believe this would be a good development.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else in the public that wishes to speak to this item? Applicant, would you like a rebuttal? No? Okay, very good. That's it? Do we have a motion to close? We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Councilman Miranda.
Is here. Item number 4, REZ 25-70, an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration. An ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 703 East Floribraska Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described from section 1 from zoning district classification RM24 residential multifamily to CN commercial neighborhood, providing an effective date.
Thank you. We have a motion from Councilman Miranda, second from? Second from Councilwoman Hurtek. I guess let's do a, Councilwoman Hurtek.
And I'll speak to this just a little bit and why I seconded it. Floribraska is currently a residential, but if you look at the future land use, it won't be either like full, like single family. We're looking at multifamily residential. It could have some potential further along, and that is why I seconded it.
Yeah. Anybody else wish to discuss this issue? Well, let's try with a voice vote first. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Clerk?
Motion carries unanimously with Vera being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on October 9th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. Item number 5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. Agenda item 5 is REZ 2574. This is a request to rezone 1318 West Arch Street from residential single-family RS50 to planned development for residential single-family semi-detached uses. Looking at the aerial map before I jump into details, you may recognize this site or the surrounding area as last month the applicant brought an application immediately west of the subject site for pretty much the same proposal that I'm about to go into here. Looking at the subject site outlined in red, it's located on the south side of West Arch Street. It is surrounded to the north, south, east, and west by single-family detached uses, all zoned RS50. I also want to note that there are west of the subject site, on the west side of North Orange Avenue, we do have an RM18, and east of the subject site on the south side of West Arch Street, we do have a planned development which was developed with 2 single-family detached uses. We next have our proposed site plan. The applicant proposes a single structure containing 2 semi-detached uses. The applicant proposes concrete sidewalks along the south side of West Arch Street. The front doors are oriented towards the right-of-way, and the site provides rear entry vehicular access off the 14-foot alleyway.
Can you push it up and zoom in on the garage and the driveway section?
Sure can. There we go. Is that good?
Maybe a little bit more for my weak eyes. There we go. Thank you.
Yep. There we go. And each unit is proposed with a total floor area of 2,350 square feet. Next I have elevations. Zoom out on these. These are the proposed elevations. The proposed height is 31 feet, 9 inches. There is a waiver requested with this application. It relates to a reduction of the backup distance for the alleyway from 24 feet to 14 feet. Next, I have some photos showing the subject site and surrounding area. This is the photo of the subject site. This is looking north across West Arch Street. South of the subject site, we have single-family detached on West Nassau. East of the subject site and west of the subject site. This was the site of that application heard last month for 1320 West Arch Street. Looking east down West Arch Street, and lastly, looking west down West Arch Street. Development Coordination and Compliance staff has reviewed this application. We find the request to be inconsistent with the City of Tampa land development regulations. Should it be the pleasure of City Council to approve the application, modifications to the site plan as shown on the submitted revision sheet must be completed between first and second reading. These revisions will not resolve the issues of transportation's inconsistent finding, and I'm available for any questions.
Does council have any questions? Hearing none, Planning Commission.
Jennifer Malone, Planning Commission staff. The future land use is residential 20, and it is located in the West Tampa Urban Village. As is probably a little bit of a theme tonight, as Mr. DeMach mentioned, the street might have a variety of residential types on it, but the residential 20 would kind of envision residential single-family attached uses, multifamily types of uses over time, over the course of the plan. We did find this consistent with the comprehensive plan. We did find that the comprehensive plan has something in it called the Compact City Form Strategy, and that is encouraging our growth and our density near employment centers, near transit, and within our urban villages, and this is meeting all of those criteria. And it's going to bring up the density of the street in an area of the city that the comprehensive plan has seen that vision. I think you get the idea. Again, it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, and we found that the comp plan also promotes utilizing the alley as well for access. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Hearing none. Applicant.
Good evening, Council. James Lascara, and I have been sworn in. As Christopher mentioned, this is the exact same site plan, carbon copy of the adjacent property that received unanimous consent at the last City Council. We'll have the second reading for that in 1 week. So we're happy to hear that we were reported consistent across the board except for transportation. And the reason for that is so that we can have reduced parking setback distance, so we can do a single car garage. I want to show a little bit about the neighborhood. I live 2 blocks away. We love doing projects in our own neighborhood. So last year we rezoned 1505 Arch to single-family semi-detached, and that's being built now. Last month we are in the process of finalizing rezoning for 1320 Arch, and in blue is the subject site we're discussing tonight. In orange, you'll see our current use properties that are 2 units. I'm available for any questions. Respectfully request your approval.
Council have any questions? Hearing none. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this item? I see none. We have a motion to close from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Councilman Carlson. Did I skip you on one? Did you do one? You did the last one. Okay, good. Yes, 5.
Item number 5, file number REZ 25-74, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 1318 West Arch Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RS 50 residential single family to PD plan development residential single family semi-detached, providing effective date, including the revision sheet.
We have a motion from Councilman Carlson, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Clerk?
Motion carries unanimously with Vera being absent. Second hearing and adoption will be held on October 9th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. Item number 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 6 is REZ 2578. This is a request to rezone 801 East 26th Avenue from planned development to commercial general CG. We'll start with an aerial of the subject site. Subject site is outlined in red on the aerial here. It's located on the south side of East 26th Avenue. The site totals 1.83 acres in area. Surrounding uses include Borrell Park to the north, Zone CG, as well as single-family detached units zoned RS50. East of the subject site, we have a school, a single-family detached use, a vacant lot, and a place of religious assembly or former place of religious assembly east of the subject site along North Nebraska Avenue, Zone CG. South of the subject site, we have single-family detached uses, Zone RS50, along with a very small portion of commercial general zoning that's part of that place of religious assembly site. And west of the subject site, we have single-family detached uses along with some vacant parcels as well. The site is also located in the East Tampa Overlay District, so it must comply with the East Tampa Overlay District design standards at the time of permitting. The current PD approved for the site is for multifamily. It allows a total of 32 units with a bonus provision agreement. The PD does not allow for commercial general uses, so the applicant is requesting this rezoning to allow for those CG uses to be on this site. This is a survey for the subject site. We have approximately 212 feet of street frontage on the south side of East 26th Avenue and 330 feet of depth on the subject site. Given the surrounding uses, the requested use of commercial general zoning, according to staff, is appropriate in location and provides for an appropriate transition with the surrounding parcels. And I do have some photos to show you, as this is a Euclidean rezoning, so we don't have any site plan or elevations to show you. First, we have the subject site. This is looking south from East 26th Avenue. This is looking in on the internals of the site. One additional photo showing the site. Looking north towards Borrell Park. One additional from the subject site looking north. Look on the south side, we have single-family detached units, and of course we also have the CG portion to the south. Along the east, we have the preparatory school. We also have single-family detached and vacant parcel, and then we start to get into the site showing the place of religious assembly. And that wraps up our photos. Development Coordination and Compliance staff has reviewed this application. We find the request to be consistent with the City of Tampa land development regulations, and I am available for any questions.
Does council have any questions? Hearing none. Planning Commission.
Jennifer Malone, Planning Commission staff. The future land use is Community Mixed Use 35. It is bordered, well, this is North Nebraska Avenue, a transit emphasis corridor. And we see Community Mixed Use 35 along North Nebraska. There is a park to the north of the site and then residential 20 to the west. The site might look familiar to you all. It came before you as a comprehensive plan amendment about 4 to 5 months ago. And now they're here for a zoning. The Community Mixed Use 35 category does support the zoning of commercial general. I just need to add for the record, it is also within the East Tampa Urban Village. Since it is within a mixed-use corridor and an urban village, the comprehensive plan does promote walkability, wide sidewalks, special design for pedestrians, comfort and safety. And so we would just ask that any future development should be consistent with that policy direction at the time of permitting. The future development should promote a mixture of uses in context with the community, enhance the pedestrian experience. Again, the site is adjacent to existing commercial development along transit emphasis corridor, which is North Nebraska Avenue. The proposed CG zoning district would be appropriate for this site, and any potential non-residential development would need to be sensitive to the existing residences abutting the site. But since it's Euclidean, if they meet the code, we do believe that would occur. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Planning Commission? Applicant.
Good evening, Council. Ryan Manassi with Johnson Pope, Director of Planning, 400 North Ashley Drive, Suite 3100. If CTTV can bring up my PowerPoint, I have a brief presentation for you.
Go ahead. It's up.
Great. Just to go over a few items, again, south side of East 26th Avenue between Talaferio Avenue and Nebraska Avenue, roughly 1.83 acres. As Chris mentioned, it is zoned planned development. It was rezoned a few times planned development. And again, that's for that 32 multifamily units. And our request, is obviously stated, is the CG, Commercial General Zoning District. The existing use of the property is vacant. And just to elaborate a little bit on what Jennifer alluded to was, on the flu history, it was approved to go from R20 to CMU 35, and that was through Ordinance 2025-18, or TA CPA 2412. And that was before you in earlier this year in February. And so this is the second part of it. We wanted to bring this rezoning in front of you to come into alignment with our new future land use category. The zoning map, currently zoned PD. Again, the request CG district does abut the property on the east and portions of the north and the south. As you can see, there are our subject sites outlined in green. And again, the CG is predominantly on both sides of Nebraska, going north and south. So this is consistent with the development pattern in the zoning district. Sorry, I have to look up. It's not on my screen. So, city staff findings: the requested CG district is consistent with the development pattern in the area. It will be subject to all land development codes and the East Tampa overlay design standards, and all reviewing departments found our request consistent. Just some findings from the PC. It supports infill development on vacant land. It aligns the Central Tampa Planning District goal of vibrant mixed-use urban lifestyle. Again, it's located in the East Tampa Urban Village, promoting pedestrian-oriented community-serving uses, and it's compatible with nearby commercial development along Nebraska Avenue, while, as Jennifer mentioned, we would be required to buffer appropriately and screen against any type of residential use. Again, the rezoning, in our opinion, and it appears from staff, is comparable and compatible with the character of the surrounding uses, and it's consistent with the development pattern anticipated under the CMU 35 future land use designation. So in conclusion, City of Tampa and Planning Commission staff found the request consistent. Again, we align with the CMU 35 flu category. And again, any development, as you know, this is not a site plan PD, so we must comply with all CG zoning standards, all land development codes, East Tampa overlay design standards. And with that, I'm available for any questions, should you have any. I haven't received any objections to the request.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
If I remember correctly from 4 or 5 months ago, your client has additional connecting parcels to Nebraska.
They've been in communication with some of those property owners. So this would be in line with that, and setting everything up to have CG helps possibly promote.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what
more
I
of a
thought.
consolidation. But no, my client does not own property on Nebraska.
Okay, no, but okay. I remember that from
Yes.
the CMU. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Hearing none, is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak to this item? Can I get a motion? We have a motion closed from Councilman Miranda, second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Councilwoman Hurtak.
File number REZ 25-78, ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 801 East 26th Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from Zoning District Classification PD, Plan Development, to CG Commercial General, providing an effective date.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Clerk.
Motion carries unanimously with Vera being absent. Second reading and adoption will be held on October 9th, 2025 at 10 a.m. at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, 3rd floor, Tampa, Florida, 33602.
Thank you. Last item of the night, item 7.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Christopher DeMonch, Development Coordination. Next, we have agenda item number 7. This is REZ 2580. This is a request to rezone 801 East St. Clair Street from RS 50 residential single family to RM 18 residential multifamily. We'll start with an aerial. The subject site is outlined in red. It is located in the southeast corner of the intersection of East St. Clair Street and North Mitchell Avenue. The subject block that the subject site is located on is located between North Mitchell Avenue and North Nebraska Avenue. Surrounding zoning includes RS 50 to the north, consisting of a single-family detached use. We have, just a moment here, to the east we have RS 50, as well as there is YC 5 adjacent to North Nebraska. South of the subject site we have YC 5 as well as RS 50, and to the east we have a City of Tampa property that is also zoned RS 50 there. The site is also in the East Tampa Overlay District, so it must meet those design standards at the time of permitting. The site, based on the RM 18 zoning they're requesting, allows for a maximum of 4 dwelling units for the site itself. Next, we have an arrow of the subject site. Outlined in green, the subject site has approximately 88 feet of street frontage along East St. Clair, as well as 118 feet of street frontage along North Mitchell, and 88 feet of street frontage along East Roble Street. Given the surrounding uses and the surrounding zoning discussed with the aerial map, we believe the RM 18 zoning is appropriate in location. It also provides for the appropriate transition with the surrounding parcels. We do have some photos showing the subject site. This is the view of the subject site from East St. Clair. Looking from the west easterly from North Mitchell. From the south looking north from East Roble Street. South of the subject site. And this is a portion of one of the other sites to the south showing some detached accessory dwelling units. East of the subject site. And west of the subject site. And I don't believe I showed north, so there we go. There's north with another detached unit there. If the applicant's intent is to vest the existing uses through this rezoning, a design exception will be required. Development Coordination and Compliance staff has reviewed this application. We do find the request to be consistent with the City of Tampa land development regulations, and I am available for any questions.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
We've received some emails about code issues. Can you speak at all to that?
There is an open code violation for the site related to the number of units on the site, as it is zoned currently RS 50. So when we went out there, I did a site visit. I did notice that there were 3 units based on the mailboxes along East St. Clair.
Okay, is there anybody from code that can speak to that? No, okay.
Councilman Maniscalco.
Yes, this, maybe I'm wrong, this looks very familiar. Is this something that came before us years ago? Okay, I remember during COVID sometime, maybe 2020, 2021, something, maybe this is it. And if I remember correctly, it was for a lesser density or a different category, and it was turned down, and now it's coming back for more, or, I don't know. Can you clarify, Ms. Wells?
Absolutely. For the record, Kate Wells with the legal department. So the staff report had noted that there was a rezoning. I think it's REZ 19. I don't have the rest of the number, but it was considered by City Council back in February 13th of 2020. At the time, the applicant was requesting a plan development rezoning that would allow up to 3 units. So I believe, based on the site plan we saw this evening, and the pictures that we, not the site plan, because this is a Euclidean zoning, but the pictures that we saw, they are seeking once again to get an approval for, and the applicant can confirm this, I'm assuming that they're seeking approval to vest the existing structures. That is what the applicant requested back in 2020, was to vest the existing structures, and that was denied by council. Since then, there had been another code enforcement complaint that was initiated in January of 2024. It went to the special magistrate in May of 2024. The special magistrate found that there were property maintenance standards that had been violated, accumulations were on the property, but also found a violation of the zoning in that more than 1 unit was operating from those structures. And it's my understanding, I've got a copy of the order, that a $500 daily fine is being assessed since this was heard a little over a year ago.
So they're here, this application is here to what? Cure the zoning violation, essentially?
The applicant's going to have to
Okay.
testify to that, but what Chris did confirm is even if City Council approves the RM18 zoning, if the intent is to vest the existing structures, that will require additional design exceptions, because the location, and you can get,
Can I
Chris
suggest
can
let's
explain
hear
it
from the
more.
applicant, and then we have
Yep.
further questions from you after we hear from the applicant?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Planning Commission, go ahead. Sorry.
Promise I'll be really short. Everybody has a better memory than me because I don't remember this, but I was working in 2020. It's been a long 5 years. Jennifer Malone, Planning Commission staff. This is a residential 20 future land use category. It is in the East Tampa Urban Village, and to the east of the subject site is Community Mixed Use 35. We did find this consistent with the comprehensive plan because the Planning Commission was reviewing it as a Euclidean request. The residential multifamily 18 is supported by the residential 20 future land use category and those uses within it. Looking at it as Euclidean requests, we determined that this would provide more housing within the neighborhood, again, furthering that compact city form strategy, providing more housing in our urban villages and the areas of the city that have proximity to transit and services. And again, the urban villages the comprehensive plan seeks to direct the greatest share of growth to those urban villages, and this is where this lies. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Planning Commission? Hearing none. Applicant?
Good evening, City Council. Eileen Rosario. So my client purchased this property a couple of years ago. And of course, there is some code violation cases. And the code violation, one of the ones that he's trying to resolve right now is because of the code, RS50. And when he purchased it, the 3 apartments were already there. So we just want to make it legal. Not trying to add nothing else, not trying to do nothing else, just so that the zoning, that code violation for the zoning will go away. Because he keeps getting violation because it's an RS50. But if we make it an RM18 and leave it with the 3 units that's already there, just do some improvements with the building permits, that's all we want to do. We don't want to add anything, we don't want to take nothing away, just make it legal, correct zoning as to what it is right now.
Councilwoman Hurtak.
So is the intent to vest the 2 structures
Yes,
that are there?
I will do a formal decision to vest get the property vested as is.
Now, do the existing structures, as located, do they comply with RM18 setbacks?
Yes.
Or standards, rather, setbacks, landscape buffers, parking requirements?
Yes, as of right now, yes.
Okay, thank you.
They don't?
Yeah, no, I was going to say, well, we'll get clarification. I'll get
Clarification.
I'll get clarification for that in just one moment. Do you have anything else to add? You'll have an opportunity for rebuttal.
No, that's it.
Okay, very
Thank
good.
you.
So for city staff, can you come up and address the setback issue, please?
For the East Tampa overlay, for the front setbacks, there's a requirement between 15 and 25 feet. With this particular site, I'm going to bring up the old site plan that was used back in 2020, just as a reference. So in the East Tampa overlay, they would be required to meet between 15 to 25 along the roadway, both along St. Clair Street and East Roble Street. There's also, East Tampa requires 5-foot setbacks and 5-foot setbacks along the sides, 5-foot setbacks for corner sites, which would be along North Mitchell, which they more than meet, and there's a 15-foot rear setback. That's a requirement in the East Tampa overlay. Looking at the site plan, and this is, obviously they would have to submit a design exception, specifying their distances, but just staff taking a look at this, there's currently a 7-foot, almost 3-inch setback for that porch, between the edge of that porch and East St. Clair Street, and estimated setback between that detached accessory dwelling unit and East Roble Street of 7 feet 6 inches. So they would need to get those decreased setbacks that exist on the site, they would need to bring those in for a design exception.
And those design exceptions could be done without council approval, could be done with staff if this action was approved this evening?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, and they would bring it under one request. They could do both those setbacks under one design exception submittal.
Ms. Wells, I have a question. I have a question about the legal standard of using this Euclidean rezoning and the impact that it has on existing code enforcement issues. One is this: would this be a proper way to cure zoning issues, and would it eliminate the responsibility of the owner for issues that have been accumulated to date?
Kate Wells, for the record, so the requested RM18 zoning, staff has confirmed that allows up to 4 dwelling units on the parcel. What I've heard the applicant testify to is that they are operating 3 units from the 2 structures that are on the site. As long as you have no more than the 3 that are being operated or the 4 that you could if the rezoning is approved, then the zoning itself would resolve that portion of it. However, Chris has testified that to vest the existing structures, there are still additional steps because of the setback requirements.
So I'm curious, in the code enforcement issue, the applicant also testified that they're getting $500 per day fines for code violations. With council's action today, would that negate previously accumulated fines?
It doesn't negate what is accumulated to date. If the rezoning is approved, and they would then have to go back before code enforcement to confirm that they have come into compliance. And at that point, the fine would stop, and it would then be determined what that total fine is. And I don't know the extent to which that fine could potentially be settled. I'm not familiar enough with that process. The rezoning itself would allow, if it's approved, would allow the applicant to go back to code enforcement and to show that they're now in compliance.
Okay.
But it would not negate the fines that have accumulated since May of 2024.
And so, I think another question for city staff. So this application had been heard in a different way from RS50 to PD, is my understanding?
Correct.
But appreciably, the facts surrounding this case, are they any different from the previous denial when it was denied by council? Is what is happening, what has changed from the first hearing to, oops.
If I may suggest, that would be a great question for the applicant. What has changed since between 2025 and now that would justify the request?
Thank you. Okay, I will follow that legal advice. Applicant, could you explain to me why we're here again?
At that point, back in 2024, it was a different owner.
But what's different between, regardless of the ownership, the property, we're talking about property, not ownership. So with the application on this particular property, if your request for the rezoning from the previous time that a council heard this case to today, what facts have changed that would demand coming to council requested to get, asking for another approval?
Well, the reason why we're asking for this is because we don't want to do a PD. They're not, I don't know what the other person wanted to do, why they requested a PD. Did they not realize the future land use? They wanted to, what it was that they wanted to do. Once my property owner bought the land, he went to the hearing, or he heard about the hearing, he went to code enforcement, he found out there's a fine going on. He's now trying to say, okay, I can't, this is how it's been running. There's people living here already. I need to try to get this legal. If I change the zoning back to something multi, which falls within the R20, then I can go back to code, fix that part of it gets fixed. Then we can go to building permit and do design exceptions or put up a fence, whatever the next steps need to be to finish with the compliance. Well, as long it's got to get started in one place. The first thing that has to get done is we got to have the correct zoning. If you don't have the correct zoning, we can't move forward with anything else.
Thank you.
And the violation and that's one of the violations. That's the reason for one of the violations, because the zoning is not correct.
Thank you, I understand. Councilwoman Hurtak.
But that still doesn't answer your question. What has changed on the side? What has changed from the desire for the rezoning, for that reason to make it multifamily? What has changed?
We have people living in there. There's a lot of residents that need homes. There's people living in there, and this is giving the property to become legal, and it's also giving people some place to live. And understandable that the new landlord, the new owner, he's a little bit on the woo-woo side. So I'm trying to pull him into, listen, you got to do this legally. We got to get it to the legal side, so therefore we can comply with everything else. We will then, after this, we will apply for the DE. We will apply for the reduction of the setbacks. I will then do a formal decision to have it vested, but it has to be one step at a time. I can't submit rezoning formal decision DE1 to not know where I'm going to be. So I have to take it one step at a time.
And so why are you asking for 4 dwelling units?
No, it's only going to stay at 3. We're not doing
the
4.
RM18,
They can go
fine.
up to 4, but
Okay.
it's staying just the way it is, 3. That's
Thank
it. Nothing else,
Okay.
nothing more.
Hearing no other questions, is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to this item? Okay, I don't believe you've been sworn in, correct? Okay, just the one, or both of you going to speak? Okay, if you stand, raise your right hand. You've already been sworn in. If you haven't been sworn in, stand, raise your right hand and be sworn in, please. Thank you. Please approach the podium and start with your name, please.
Kim Headland. I reside at 1023 East 17th Avenue. I am here tonight on behalf of the VME Board Neighborhood Association. I currently serve as president. Our association has voted to oppose this request and respectfully urges City Council to deny the proposed rezoning. This request, quite honestly, is inconsistent with a lot of VME boards, historic fabric, and the character of our neighborhood, specifically outside of those major corridors. And quite honestly, this application is here, as we already heard, because it was cited by code enforcement. An approval of this application would contradict zoning intent and the RS50 designation, and the RS50 designation currently reflects the prevailing pattern of single-family homes in the area, set back in more than a block off Nebraska Avenue. 4 dwelling units on this lot, which no matter what the owner says they want to do, they will be allowed at this point to have 4 dwelling units if approved. That would require a minimum of 9, I believe, off-street parking spaces, which can't be accommodated without a significant disruption to our kind of urban pattern, our urban fabric of our community. That's 9 parking spaces on a 118 by 88 foot lot. That's a big deviation. The existing secondary structure also fails to comply with the required setbacks and buffers. The owner, or this property, has been in repeated non-compliance for at least a decade. I've lived in the neighborhood for just about 25 years now. I can say it's been a constant kind of problem area. Or problem property. It's been said on multiple occasions for being used as an unpermitted rooming house, for this being subdivided without permit into multiple units, and most recently, both in 2023 and in 2024, it was brought before the special magistrate and fined for violations. There's been a clear pattern of disregard for zoning and code requirements, quite honestly. Approval of this today would not only reward persistent non-compliance, but also set an unfortunate precedent, I think, for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Start with your name, please.
Kelly Grimsdale, 2701 North 9th Street. I'm here to speak about 801 East St. Clair. This property has a long storied history, including being left open and vacant for at least 5 years, attracting homeless, squatting, and other sundry activities. Due to this, our neighborhood has always kept an eye on this property. When the previous owner purchased the property in 2018, he leased it to Homeless Helping Homeless, who basically used the property as an illegal rooming house. There were multiple code cases about its illegal use over the years. And in 2020, that particular owner requested that the property be rezoned to multifamily, I guess it was in a PD, as he wanted to use the outbuilding as a legal third unit. Because he couldn't provide enough parking and due to other issues I don't recall, City Council rejected his request, and the city attorney confirmed, I think it was a city attorney or one of the planning people, someone from sitting over here got up and said, they confirmed at that time that the only legal use of that property was single family. Fast forward to June 2023, when the current owner purchased the property and continued to use the main structure as an illegal duplex, and then also rented out the outbuilding as a third unit. They went before a code magistrate in May of 2024, which Kim and I were there. There was no owner representative there. And so that's a lie, and by the way. And we're found, the owner was found guilty for being in violation of the current zoning, and they were ordered to pay a fine per day. I thought it was $1,000, but apparently $500. The owner has continued to operate this property as a 3-unit since then, totally dismissing the magistrate's judgment. The property is also kept in a less than desirable condition. So I don't know if you can show that. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Not much better than when it was Homeless Helping Homeless. And now this owner is requesting a change of use from 3, and that's there's some collection of debris on the property. The owner is requesting a change of use from 3 to 4 units. That's what's on the application. With reduced parking, even though any more than 1 unit was in violation of the city's code. If approved, it will only provide a green light for investors to flout the city's codes, knowing that they can still be rewarded at the end of the day. It's interesting that none of the unscrupulous owners of the derelict properties in our area actually live there. As someone who lives and invests in VM Ybor and has done nothing but improve my properties and the surrounding area, please think of us, the residents. I am asking you to reject this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant, would you like to have a rebuttal? Oh, wait, one more space. Okay, I'm sorry. I saw this raise your hand.
They said it well, very good. What can I say more?
You have to state your name again.
It's Kevin Welch, and I live at 709 East Hugh, which is about 2 blocks from this property. I would walk my dog by there. Actually, 2 years ago when I built my house, that place was boarded up. I thought it was a tear down. And then one day I'm taking the boards out and they're kind of cleaning it up a little bit. By the way, whoever took those pictures, I give them kudos because those very well photoshopped. That's the best I've ever seen it walking my dog. It's pretty tragic most of the time. So what I'm saying here is I thought it was a tear down. It's been nothing but problem, cars, people, this, that, and the other. I try to keep to myself with my dog. I don't want to start any trouble. But I agree with the ladies. I'm 100% behind them. It's not good for our neighborhood. Trust me. Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant, would you like a rebuttal?
I can relate to what the ladies are saying. I understand they live in this area and they want everything to be nice and neat, but I've also drove up and down that area, in that neighborhood. And I understand the house doesn't look 100%. It's not the most prettiest house on the block. That I have to give it to them. But what I am saying is that this gentleman purchases, he wants to make it right. He's trying to fix the problem. If we can't fix the problem if we don't get approval. You can't fix the code violations, you can't fix the property, you can't fix who you'll be able to rent to, because you gotta start from somewhere, and starting from somewhere is trying to fix the zoning. The house has been there since 1925, the second piece was there since 1965. So he didn't make these setbacks, he didn't just place them there. They've been there before the code was even in effect. So all we can do is try to fix it till we can comply, so we can move forward. But if we don't give each other a chance, there's no way it's ever gonna get fixed. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Can we get a motion to close?
Motion to close.
A motion to close from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. Do you mind if I start on this one? Can I
Go for it.
You know, I don't, you know, as chair, I don't speak first, but I have to say that the arguments that they can't be in compliance are so disingenuous, because there is an existing standard for compliance for this property that the owner appears to have completely ignored from the time that he's had. And I won't speak to the previous owners, but just since this person has had ownership of this property, he's had ample opportunity, and based on the evidence that's been submitted tonight, a magistrate's basically instructed him on what he could do to be in compliance, and has given a fine as incentive to come into compliance. So it's not that he can't, he's just chosen not to. He's chosen to continue to utilize this property in a way that's not accommodated by current law. So that's, you know, that's the state the state of the fact of where we are tonight when evaluating this particular parcel. What could have happened is that the applicant could have come into compliance and then come into this council and requested after being in compliance, you know, an appropriate either adaptive reuse or an application for repurposing this property, and, you know, starting with a clean slate. But that's not what they chose to do. So we're here with a property that's had repeated violations, that's come before council already once before, been given an answer of no, hasn't appreciably changed the request, and it's come back again expecting to, you know, went to dad once and now is going to mom and asking for a different answer. And that seems kind of outrageous to me, and I could not even see in a million years why there's even been a shred of competent substantial evidence tonight that I would change a previous decision from council, or based on the evidence, competent substantial evidence that I've heard tonight, not one shred of evidence that I would make a decision to do anything other than deny this request. Councilwoman Hurtak.
I agree. I'll be a little more specific, though, that the applicant has had an opportunity to make it compliant, and compliance is single family. Right. And that is what they chose not to do. And that's the problem. I think, again, yeah, I mean, I'll just simply leave it at that.
Anybody else wish to speak?
No, the applicant had a chance, when he bought the units, he understand what was there, and he didn't take care of it. So, I mean, nothing has changed.
Thank you. Councilman Collins.
Yeah, and in line with what my colleague said, we have an ongoing situation where people do things that they shouldn't do with the zoning that they have, and then either they or the following owners come back and ask for it to be changed, and that's not what the neighborhood and other folks signed up for. We shouldn't reward people changing things that they shouldn't be changing.
Thank you. Who wants to take a stab at this? Got to have somebody. Okay. Councilman Maniscalco, I'm going to tag you. You want to take like 2 or 3 minutes to go through it?
And also, council, I would just recommend that if you do deny it, that you state if there's any additional factual evidence that you want in the record, you base it on the discussion. If you could include that as part of whatever motion you choose.
Let's take like a 5-minute break so you can go through that. Maybe talk with with Attorney Shelby and
yeah, as well.
5-minute break. We'll reconvene at 6:36. All Tampa City Council back to order. Roll call, please.
Miranda.
Here.
Maniscalco.
Here.
Hurtak. Here. Viera. Carlson. Clendenin.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you. We left off with Councilman Maniscalco.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to deny file number REZ 25-80 based on the fact that this property is located in an area that is predominantly single-family homes and that the property has been misused as a multi-family property, even though it is a single-family home and should be. It's been and been used in that fashion for a while. So that's my basis for denial. Is that sufficient, Mr. Shelby? I don't have to cite any specific because of the type of rezoning that is.
It's Euclidean rezoning.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything anybody else would like
Yeah.
to add, that would be sufficient.
Second. Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Maniscalco. We have a second from Councilman Miranda. Does that require roll call?
No.
No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. Clerk, would you read that for me?
Motion carries
Oh,
unanimous.
no, fails.
Sorry, motion fails.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry. It did carry because it was a motion to deny. You were right. I was mistaken.
Motion carries unanimously with Viera being absent.
Thank you. Very good. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, well, that concludes the last item of business. Is there any new business? Councilman Carlson, Councilwoman Hurtak, Councilwoman Hurtak.
I motion to have the Planning Commission present to Tampa City Council about the City of Tampa 2026 redistricting at the November 20th, 2025 council regular meeting.
That's weird. We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. I'm very sorry about the feedback. I have no
Yeah,
idea
that's
what's
weird.
going
I've
on.
never heard feedback on these things.
Question on that,
Oh.
if I can. Is that under staff reports, or is that under commendations or presentation?
I have no idea. I'm just handed these things by the Planning Commission and I read them.
Can we could, do you know how long it'll run? Because, I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
Ask and she shall appear.
Jennifer Malone, Planning Commission staff. Planning Commission was hoping to just give an update about the redistricting efforts. So I believe instead of the orderly accommodation, it would be under staff reports.
Okay.
So we could appear and present, but whatever the pleasure of council is.
It actually might be nice to do it during presentations, just so that it's done and that the public can hear about it, and they have a time certain.
I think
That is better for you.
And no action will be taken.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I think that mic is
Is it that mic up there?
I think that mic is picking up.
I have no
Interesting.
idea.
Yeah, it's
Because
weird.
you hear she's louder than normal. It's
So
more-
CTTV, yeah, there's definitely something, I think, with the podium mic for, not that it matters tonight because we're almost done, but there we go.
So then I will ask that be, I just want to make sure there's room in ceremonials.
There is. Commendations and
Yes,
presentations.
so I asked that it be during the ceremonials, which would be before public comment, so.
Who is the second? Okay, we have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Maniscalco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the ayes have it unanimously. Thank you.
A request by the Planning Commission to remove TACPA 24-04, TACPA 24-05, and TACPA 24-06 from October 30th, 2025, 5:01 PM adoption public hearing.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Hurtak, a second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it unanimously.
And one more thing, the Planning Commission did send us all an email about some changes that they, that the state did not necessarily agree with. We got the email yesterday. Read it.
Do you think we ought to,
Councilman Carlson.
do you think we ought to have a presentation on that as well?
Are you all planning on having? Yeah, go
Sure,
ahead.
yeah, that'd be great.
Jennifer Malone, Planning Commission staff. That was in regards to a privately initiated text amendment that came before you on July 31st. So it's scheduled for adoption on September 25th, and we will be presenting the letter from the state, but it's all included, like you all
Included
have
in that
it.
case.
Okay.
And we have asked the applicant to prepare a response for city council.
Do you think though that it has broader implications that we should know about, especially before we get into whatever the next edition is of the comprehensive plan?
Take an IOU.
I mean, it's the pleasure of council, but I would be happy to schedule a briefing, maybe next week.
But more for the,
Yeah,
for
for
the
the pub-
public to understand what the implications are.
Well,
Think about it and let us know.
But that's
Okay.
why I think if we talk about it, if we each get some briefings, maybe next week, then by the time that it rolls around on September 25th, we'll be able to be prepared to talk to the public about it.
Yes, ma'am. And the
So-
planning commission has already been coordinating with Susan Johnson Velez's department to be briefing you all before September 25th.
Wonderful. If there's just one thing, because, just so the public knows what we're talking about, can you just mention what this is? Just so that we are not, what is it the kids say today? Sub-skeeting?
Like, you look at me.
I
You know,
can't.
honestly, feel free to take you on that for like to come back maybe at the next meeting, so prepared, because unless you are prepared to answer that, I don't want to feel like you're put on the
Yeah,
spot.
no, I'm prepared.
Just what item it is,
Yeah.
so they not
Yeah.
necessarily, yeah, and just the 30,000 foot view.
Yeah, I don't remember the case number,
Yeah.
but I can tell you it was related to the Channel District bonus, the special bonus to allow a greater increase in the CBD periphery.
Very good.
Okay.
Councilman Carlson?
Has your board discussed it yet?
It's not, so it's not gonna be going back to our board, because once our board takes action on it, it's transmitted, and then it comes before you.
But
Yeah.
just considering, I read it when it came out yesterday, just
Sure.
considering what it says, I'll leave it up to you and Melissa and your team, but if your board discusses the ramifications of it, and you think there's something you should bring back to us to talk to us about, then let us know, and we'll obviously.
We'll absolutely do that. It might have been discussed, in all honesty, on Monday night. I'm not sure, or at the end of the regular meeting. I would have to watch that meeting to see if it was brought up. But to my knowledge, it hasn't been discussed.
Yeah, just like any other rulings from the state, if it looks like it might if it looks like it might be part of a new precedent, then we want to
Right.
know what it is.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Thank you. Chairman, Councilman Maniscalco, do you have any new business?
I would just like to wish Mayor Dick Greco a very happy birthday. He turns 92 years old this Sunday. Happy birthday,
Happy
Mayor
birthday,
Greco.
Mayor. Councilman Carlson, oh my gosh, I got them all right until tonight, right now. You know, exactly.
You got upgraded tonight, Charlie.
There you go.
You called Carlson.
Oh, shots fired. Councilman Miranda. Very good. I don't. Motion to receive and file from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman
Can I
Miranda.
ask one thing? The Expressway Authority is trying to set up a meeting with us.
Yeah, we're working on it.
You're gonna do it,
Yeah,
okay.
we're tentatively in December. Tim's working on the language.
Okay.
It'll come before probably our next council
All right,
meeting.
just
We'll
wanna
come
make
for new
sure.
business. Okay, we have a motion to receive and file from Councilman Maniscalco, second from Councilman Miranda. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We're adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.